The Glebe Grapevine has had 3 editions so far, and we've distributed by foot around the entire suburb, and I'm helping a bit on the committee with it, doing my bit as best I can. But as Dennis said, there's been some wins, and it just reflects on the effectiveness of community action, and Julie's just going to share a couple more things with us.
Nothing like an entrance. Sometimes adversity brings together people whose overall philosophies may not seem that they mesh very well. And I call the Hands Off Glebe Committee sort of the odd bedfellows, because the Hands Off Glebe, the initial committee, was the Communists, the Greens, and the Baptist minister. And a lot of people look askance and say, oh my goodness. But at the base of it all is our concern for social justice and the rights of the people who we all work amongst and beside, and the fact that those rights are being denied over and over again. Just this morning I wrote an email to Mike Carlton. He had written something about Prue Goward's inaction in DOCS. Well, DOCS is one of her many areas of expertise under FACS, under the Family and Community Services. So I wrote to him about housing and pointed out to him that housing here in Glebe, the Department of Housing, has steadily practiced neglect. And symbolic of that neglect has been the fact that if you, in living memory, and you don't have to be very old for your living memory to remember when the housing office was right here on Glebe Point Road, with a sign in front. Then the housing office moved onto Broadway without a sign on front, with 10 marble stairs, and you had to get to the lift lobby up those marble stairs before you could even read that the Department of Housing was on the 2nd floor. And I had a story of somebody in a wheelchair who went down there and was told that they had to access it through the dumpsters in the basement. And she labelled it the most humiliating experience of her life, trying to get somebody from housing down because she was in a wheelchair, and the way she felt about that. From there, they moved to Sussex Street. This is still the Glebe team, as they're called. They moved to Sussex Street. Well, it mightn't be too far away. You can catch the bus to QVB, but then on your walker or on your wheelie, you've got to go down Druitt Street, and then you've got to come back up Druitt Street to George Street, which isn't really very convenient. Now, it is over in the old PMG building, Australia Post building, at Strawberry Hills on Cleveland Street. How do you get there? By public transport. You catch a bus to Central, you walk all the way through Central, you walk all the way up Chalmers Street. Or you catch a bus to Newtown, you get off at the Seymour Centre, and you walk approximately 1.5 kilometres uphill down Dale along Cleveland Street. This is where the Glebe team are. And that is something that is very saliently symbolic of the attitude of housing. It's just further and further away from the people they are meant to be serving. And that is one of our concerns, the fact that the people they are serving have no opportunity for that service to be reached. We all know that assets now manage the stock. They no longer call them homes. They don't deal in homes anymore. They deal in stock or assets. So to be neglecting your assets or stock doesn't sound quite as bad as neglecting people's homes when you don't fix them. So we've got a lot of weasel words floating around the place, and the same is met by people who come to ask for help with their fences. What have we been doing? Well, we've had a lot of grassroots activism at the local level with fences, guttering and plumbing needs. We've written letters, we've written submissions, attended meetings, harangued people, done all the usual things. We've gone advocating people. What do I do in particular? I go into people's homes as their minister and as their friend. I see the conditions they are living in. I then help them often to come and find a voice and advocate to the housing people for what should be rightly theirs. That is a decent house to live in. The song that you're about to hear was written directly in response to the letterbox dropping that I was doing of the first Glebe Grapevine, as I walked particularly along Derwent and Westmoreland Street and saw the ingenious ways that people had used to hold their fence up. And so eventually in my mind, as I plodded along, it's quite a good plodding tune, there must be 50 ways to hold your fence up, was born. So that's our local, very local effort.
Thank you, Julie, and that's a very good summation of the objectives, that not only do we want people to live in dignity, we want people to be treated with dignity. And so often the advocacy finds its way to Jamie Parker's office.